Good afternoon, morning, noonday, night. Hope everybody's doing well. Today's video, we're watching some Overwatch 2 gameplay. This video, we're gonna be watching, I think, Super on the New York City map, playing D.Va and a couple other heroes. I have Flats hanging out with me while we talk about it. It's a good video. If you like stuff like this, make sure to tell me in the comments too. Like the video if you haven't, sub to the channel if you like it, and hope you all have an amazing day. I knew that was gonna happen too, because I saw their comp and I knew right away that, like, just because of the damage there, that is something that I figured would happen, where like you can't really, I think I talked about this when they first showed 5v5. I don't see where you can like go against that comp specifically and try to like basically Ryan versus Ryan it, which is kind of almost what kind of happened there initially. It wasn't even Ryan versus Ryan. It was just like,
needs to be nerfed into the ground. I think, and this is something that's in the Reddit AMA.
Yeah.
And I think was like they were talking about like Andy and
okay, right there, by the way, just a little, right there shows you the strength of the increased DM and where D.Va can play well in that situation. You just see that DM right there, how long that was. You want to see this? Like I can go back in the video for you. You muted yourself?
1 hour later.
So what I was saying before,
yeah,
I got cut out, and then you can talk about D.Va really quick before we start.
Go for it.
I said that I believe that the role of Tankbuster should no longer exist in the game. So Hanzo, Echo, Reaper should be completely worked over, either damage number wise or from the ground up, because Hanzo's like used as like a very heavy tank buster / shield breaker. Echo is just the ultimate, just fuck you, I'm blowing you up death machine. And I think Super said in his stream when he watched this back originally last week that Echo felt like was dominating these lobbies. And Reaper I'm a little bit okay with, because I'm honestly not that scared of Reaper, but the problem with Reaper is with his lifesteal is it's almost impossible to 1v1 him. And it's like you're like even on like live, right? Like you're typically like, you have two options. You're fighting the Reaper because you're confident you can kill him, or you're basically just like stalling and trying to get away from him to try to get help. You know, and it's like if you stall him out long enough, he'll lose, because like he has to overextend too far. He doesn't heal himself up enough. His teammates will kill him. Your teammates will kill him, you know. And I don't like that aspect of like it's impossible to win the duel. Just because he'll heal himself off of my high health pool. On two tanks it makes sense, but not one.
It's tough to say though, because like I think for them, when and then this is the reason why I don't think they'll readjust it, is, and I may be wrong, is mainly because like they want to add that like kind of idea of, okay, there's a tank on the field and you want to play DPS, and like who can kill the tank. And I think they want to do that maybe, but I think what they could definitely do is reduce like damage on like Echo, for example. Like maybe don't let Echo be able to do the beam till 30%, right? So like it's more like kind of like toning down how they do the tank busting more than like absolutely get rid of it, because then you still might run into the issue where Ryan might be able to hold shield the whole time and like just sit there. So like it's like I think they want to kind of finding the in between of that would be really key. So like not letting Echo beam at 50%, maybe like 30%, right? Like against like tank, like 30%, because the problem right now is that once they're at 50% damage, you know, a tank is just gonna die, right? And that's not including the amount of damage they do in general. So yes, I think I agree with that. Echo definitely should be toned down a little bit when it comes to that, like in Overwatch 2. It's just, I mean, I guess I get what you're saying though, but they could just reduce damage and still allow for Reaper to go and kill tanks, right? Because like you said, they said like when you play against Reaper, when you go against Reaper, you're not like as scared when you play against Reaper, right? Because you can still survive it. So in theory, you can still do that in Overwatch 2. But if they reduce some of the numbers a little bit, then they can still have the ability to do that if your healer decides not to heal you, right? But you know, they could have that in between where like, okay, they make a good play and then it's good, right? Rather than just like, well, even if the Anna's there, you're just dead. That makes sense. And they can find that in between. But somebody said in the AMA they talked about nerfing Echo Beam and Storm Arrow.
Somebody asked my question about that in the AMA.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in theory, you know, they still could keep some of that damage there, but just nerf the damage down a little bit. Because if they're still gonna, if the idea is you want to kill the tank, you know, you can just go into those 1v1s and it's become 1v1s anyway, so they're not going to need the over the top damage anyway. when they can still kind of give a little bit of that damage to the tank. I mean, against the tank, that is. So it's, I hope that made sense what I was trying to say. It's like, they can probably keep the idea of that, so that way, like, when like somebody goes into the game, they're like, okay, I'm gonna play Reaper because I got to get on the tank. But then at the same time, there's a little bit more survivability for the tank now because of the idea that there's one less tank.
Sure. I'm okay with people like Reaper, actually. But like Hanzo and Echo, though.
But that makes sense. I mean, if they're going to nerf that burst damage, that's fine. Because Hanzo can still win the 1v1 duels against DPS. And then there's a little bit less damage coming on the tanks and like the shields. So that way you can have a little bit more value. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Which, by the way, let's take a second and be like, this is a good thing. Like, you know, we talked about it, like, you know, a lot of us got to talk last week with, you know, some members from Blizz, and that was a good thing. And they did this AMA after, and, you know, like they're outreaching to us, you know, whether it's creators or Overwatch League or the community and doing these things. That's a very, very good thing. Like, it feels like, you know what I mean? Like we're being talked to again. And, you know, a lot of people are kind of have a sour taste in their mouth from the past, you know, whatever it might be, that they didn't like certain patches, they didn't like certain way things were done, or they didn't like being talked to as much. I want to say that please don't look this gift horse in the mouth. You know, like I'd rather keep encouraging that this kind of stuff happens, more AMAs, whether it's, you know, Overwatch League players, whether it's content creators, whether it's, you know, Reddit forums, whatever it's, you know, whether they give us like almost like a Nintendo style direct where they want to talk to us and give us videos and like talk about what they're working on. Those are all very, very good things, you know.
Random statement to that. I can't wait to like be able to play all the Zeldas now that they're reworking them. I've wanted to play Zelda on stream with my dad for a while, like just as like a fun thing occasionally. And now like most of the Zeldas are remade and on Switch.
Yeah.
So I can actually just stream it on like I don't have to like go get like, you know, like a different version. So like I just random, keep completely random there.
No, I feel you. You're good.
Said Nintendo
You're good,
Direct, and I thought of like them announcing like Zelda recently. I'm like, oh, okay. But no, to what you're saying with that, yeah, I mean, communication's very good. I definitely have enjoyed being able to at least communicate a little bit more about this stuff, because before it was like there was just, you weren't getting that. So yeah.
That's why doing these are worth it now. You know, talking about it and be like, hey, you know, I like this, didn't like this, maybe we could change this. Like,
well, that's what I'm trying to see here. I'm trying to look at like, I'm trying to see like, okay, I'm seeing this. It's like, you know, maybe you know, one thing I'm gonna say about this, and I'm at a minute, by the way, if you haven't put it there.
I'm still at a minute,
is like, one thing I do want to say is that when we watch this map specifically, keep in mind that the players have no idea how this map plays for the most part. So the way it plays sometimes is going to be a little bit different than when we watched Havana and Dorado, because we've played Dorado for 5 years. We've played Havana for like, what, 3 years now? They've
got so many strats on how to play Dorado perfectly.
We understand how the maps play a lot more. So when we see the newer maps, you probably won't, these maps won't be played these maps won't be played really well for, I mean, maybe 6 months for like the teams that are practicing it a lot in scrims, because they're going to practice a lot of these maps in scrims. To a year, even just in ranked, you're going to see
they actually found a good tech on this map, but you'll see it later. It's actually really cool.
So the way the maps play is going to be a little bit different. You're going to probably see kind of like how, you know, there's the way that a lot of like controls play now are so different than they used to be played, and you saw that as like time went on. But anyway, so we see him kill the Ryan. Ryan goes down early, probably took damage elsewhere. Now watch this: 3 seconds to DM.
That's a lot of DM.
And now we can pause. So that right there is where you might see like D.Va get really good value in that solo tank, because like I guarantee you, if there's a Zarya there, right, with that Ryan, D.Va's dead. D.Va won't survive that. But what we see there, and don't get me wrong, right now, to be honest with you, if D.Va goes against Sombra in this comp, Super would be in spawn right now. Right?
Yes.
And that's where obviously they need to look into how Sombra's played. But for example, right there shows you the value of DM now when it's increased to 3 seconds. Right? So the idea, you said how is that, how much value was that DM? It ate a ton of damage, but it was mostly all to bail himself out. Well, I mean, still ate a bunch of damage and was able to get back, now has survived with mech, has given the supports the ability to build up their support ultimates now, right? And then obviously it's a little bit different with the healing right now, because I think the out of combat thing still exists. So I actually think Super would have been healed for a bit more, if I'm correct. And actually that makes me curious now to see if I'm actually curious, would they have kept up Ryan? Because isn't there less healing in combat right now in this version?
Yes, but I think then if they're going to take that away, they're then going to nerf all the supports by 25% instead.
So yeah. So anyway, like I'd say like you can see the value of DM on 3 seconds, which I was concerned about how 3 seconds would be, and I'm still concerned about certain heroes. But we got to see the value there, able to survive against a whole team, get out, play with their team, and they got the tank kill, right? So now I'm curious to see how the rest of the fight goes. So I'm at 114, by the way.
I'm at 114 as well.
I'm ready whenever.
Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, now.
Yep. So it has a decent amount of DM left, and they're able to win the fight off of that. So you can see where Diva's able to at least do that part of it, like able to main tank there. I mean, Super essentially play that like a main tank.
Yeah.
That was basically the way you would want to play as a main tank. Now they're typing to each other. Now they're back here, but like once again, I don't even know where they're on the map. I have no clue what I'm watching on this. So it's like I'm learning as they go too.
This is the first time. I think the spawn is around the corner over there.
So that right there is what happens though with the current healing they have, and if you're out of position as D.Va, which we've seen twice now. And that's once again the part where I've been concerned about with D.Va as a solo tank is. I mean, I guess. Okay, well I respect it. I respect it. You know what? I respect it. Why not? Why not, right?
Yeah, true. Why not? Hey, give it a shot, I guess.
I got to see how the spawn run back is.
Yeah, a second time.
Yep.
Apparently, by the way, the audio thing is a bug.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not hearing the audio right now.
Okay. Make sure.
Have you heard the death sound yet, by the way?
No,
Listen when teammates die. Do you hear it?
D.Va can definitely brawl in team fights. Okay, that is one thing I've seen so far is D.Va can definitely brawl in team fights.
I think D.Va's very good at 1v1s in this.
Oh, definitely. Oh, 100%. I think D.Va, as like a solo tank in this, would be very good at 1v1s.
Uh-oh.
It's more about if you can survive the initial.
There it is.
What happened?
The Sombra pick.
Oh, yeah.
When a teammate dies, though, listen for the sound. You'll hear it.
Oh, I get your saying like that.
You hear it?
Yeah.
It's the PvE noise. You know what I mean? When teammates die.
Yeah.
They might change it, I think, but that's kind of nice.
Give you an idea. Yeah. That's not bad. So far, what I'm seeing though is this feels a little bit more like it's a deathmatch, where like, but this is just part of the map. We were seeing more team fights in like that early part. So it's like, so far, D.Va definitely can play in that deathmatch style a bit because the target focus is hard to get on D.Va in general. Because if you spend so much time on D.Va, you're probably dead. So I think like, at least so far, D.Va seems pretty okay. And I say that because I say okay because I'm not sure how D.Va would be over like a long period of time of people playing against D.Va a ton, especially like with Sombra, for example. But what I'm watching here is that in this like kind of deathmatch brawl style, they're not going for D.Va as much because there's so much happening across the board that they're kind of like not target focused in D.Va as much. And you're seeing D.Va kind of survive a lot longer and get kills there. So I could see D.Va being really good in the brawl comps. If they're not focused on the D.Va. But once again, that's in that initial burst there.
Yeah.
A lot can change right here. We now have Zen. They have Sombra, they have Zen, they have Ball. So we'll see.
Both teams actually have Sombra Ball. Oh, not Ball, sorry. Sombra, Sombra Tracer.
Yeah, they have Sombra Tracer and Sombra Zen, too. So Super's going to take about as much damage as you can possibly take soon. Because there's going to be a bunch of increased damage. So. See, this is, I want to point what this is.
He's exploring right
First of all, this reminds me very much of Gibraltar on the bottom part there. Second of all, Super had no idea where he was going there. Didn't know the map.
You see the scaffolding? Yeah. They actually learned very quickly that they could parkour over that if they like crouch jumped. And I think you'll see it mostly on attack, but I think Dallas is figuring it out right here.
Okay.
Because like I think they recognize that just attacking straight on was too tough.
Yep.
So you see they're going for that high ground there. They're like doing like a crouch jump type of thing, which is kind of cool. You know, they're going to fight for the high ground there. But yeah, definitely Gibraltar second vibes on that one.
How should I play if I'm the stupidest person on the face of the planet?
I'll answer that shortly. Sorry.
Brig also looks very
Supreme, thanks for the
clunky,
83
in my
months of tier 1
opinion.
Thank you, and Ursa, thanks for the
Without
58
shield
months. Thank
bash
you.
doing
83 months,
CC.
58 months. Holy crap, thank
You know what I mean? Like, you'll see it later on, I think, more with the ball.
Yeah.
Like, they go to, like, instinctually bash the ball, and then it just,
Yep.
like, doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, no, 100%. Ball doesn't get CC'd as much in that comp, as you can tell. But as we've seen so far, a lot of it's been a lot of, like, deathmatch style.
Yeah, it's almost all been deathmatch.
Yeah. So far. Now, this is going to happen. This is come out of spawn, but look at that DM. I mean, even like that is like something that I expect D.Va to get DMAC there immediately, and D.Va's not getting DMAC in these fights. That extra DM time actually is definitely strong for surviving like that type of fight. But once again, I don't know how the game's going to be across the map with that. So, Lay, thanks for the free perhaps. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's interesting because I actually think when I was looking at D.Va, generally it did look like D.Va was a little bit weak, but very good at 1v1ing.
Yeah.
So in the deathmatch style, she's very good.
Yeah, yeah.
But if it's not a deathmatch style, then
That's what I'm saying.
she's gonna suffer. Like, you know, if her style is deathmatch brawl, but team coordinated brawl is, you know, say someone else, like maybe Ryan, is D.Va just losing out?
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, right here, like D.Va's, this is where they start to target focus D.Va a little bit more, as you're seeing. Which I was saying, when D.Va isn't getting like focused, then D.Va's popping off. So, like we saw right there, like Super wasn't able to do anything against it. Obviously, I mean, most heroes in the game won't be able to do anything against Brig Alton. But yeah, that was, I mean, that's so far from what I've seen from D.Va. Like my initial thoughts on D.Va is seems okay.
Yeah. Rally's actually really nerfed because it's no longer armor; it's overheal.
Oh, true. Yeah, so far, like, I mean, D.Va seems okay. I mean, that's literally my so far. I think D.Va's okay.
This is okay. Yeah.
As like a at least as a soul take right now. I mean, this is keep in mind first impressions. We can see way more, and D.Va could get absolutely rolled in every single team fight, right? But I'm looking at the heroes they're running and knowing, like, right now, if I play D.Va against that, I would be like that. See that right there? That's what it would look like most of the time. I would literally be out of back and spawn. So like, I'm looking at the comp they're running, and I'm going, oh wow, that's going to be a lot happening. Because I see Brig and Zen and Sombra, and I'm like, oh wow. But then I'm, you know, not too bad. So
it's interesting you say that. I honestly thought D.Va was weak when I first looked at it. When I first looked at it, watching Super get DMAC'd in like 2 seconds was funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that,
so
I can tell you why that happened. That was just.
Yeah.
I get DMAC'd
he flew
like
into
that.
them?
I get DMAC'd like that. Yeah. Once again, I say okay. I'm not saying like, oh my god, you know, solo tank D.Va's amazing. I'm just saying, like, if you look at the comps they're running.
I can't put that as the title.
Yeah. There you go. But you see the comp they're running though. Like, it's okay. In theory, I can see the value of the 3-second DM. I have a couple thoughts that they could add maybe,
CP.
but yeah. Oh yeah. Now they're on a deep. Now this is where you would know a lot about how Ryan is here.
Yeah, I think the double fire strike is pretty cool.
Keep in mind, they
don't
didn't
get me
run
wrong.
Echo either against D.Va there, which I think D.Va would get. I think it's gonna be very comp dependent. So.
Yeah, Echo makes Ryan go boom.
I mean, I think Echo's gonna do that with pretty much every tank, except maybe Hog.
Yes, agree.
And a well played Zarya.
Well,
timing. Yep.
I guess he Super thought the same thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. yeah. I think this is probably the only tank right now that I can think of. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a chance where, because you can't play Orisa right now, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think this is what he was mostly talking about when he was like referring to like playing the game and stuff like that. It was like Echo kind of just running the lobby. It still does so much damage, dude.
Bert, thanks for the free primes. I appreciate it. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Oh god, that's just painful.
Yeah.
The copy, like.
Okay, so I want to say one thing watching this now. If they were playing Echo against D.Va, I think D.Va would have been DMAC'd a ton.
You think so? Why is that?
Maybe not, because you could DM a lot of the damage from Echo, but 50%. I want to say, I don't know. It's tough to say. I need to see D.Va against Echo.
I think Hog is a good example. I think Hog is too tanky on me. I've been saying this for forever. I am a Hog hater. I do not like Hog. I think Hog is almost 99% of the time way too tanky of a hero on his own. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's ways to counteract it, but like the amount of damage mitigation they've given him, he gives less ult charge now. He heals himself for 300, like, and he takes reduced damage during that, of course. He has a one-shot ability. Like, he has so many tools in his kit, and they don't work around anyone but Hog. They really don't. But all these other heroes, they're good at enabling their teammates or enabling themselves. I think that honestly, either, you know, you change Hog to be a little bit of more of an enabler and take away a little bit of his heals, or you got to make a lot of these other tanks more, what's the word? I don't want to say self-sufficient, but I want to say almost more tanky, you know, because like I think like they were both running ball for a while. Like, this is what I was talking about.
This is cool. I like that.
You know, using the map a little bit better to their advantage. You know, ball is a good example of pretty tanky. Just has a lot of HP and with E and good movement, and you can run around and get health packs and stuff. But like, I don't see Ryan, I don't see D.Va, I don't see current of Sigma. Rissa probably would be fine just because she's just so tanky on her own.
Yeah.
I don't see Zarya. I don't see a lot of those heroes being able to thrive in what's happening right now. Like, I think the only ones that can do it are Hog, Hog, Ball, and you know, D.Va didn't look like terrible there, but I don't think it looked that strong either.
Yeah. It's going well with it. We're having a good time with it.
Like,
we're having a good time. How's it going?
I think Hog as a baseline for survivability should like be looked at either, you know, bringing everybody up to his level or bringing him down to everyone else's level. Well, I mean, and maybe making him more useful.
Yeah, it's tough to say because, I mean, do you enjoy playing Hog?
Well, that's the thing. That's a great point. When Hog is in the game,
yeah,
no one's having fun but the Hog player. The teammates aren't having fun because they have a Hog. The enemy team's not having fun because they're getting one shot by a Hog. It's just annoying to kill. The only person having fun is the Hog player. And I think if you have an entire game full of heroes that the only person having fun with that hero in the game is the person playing it, you just create kind of a bad environment, you know? Like, it becomes kind of like an oppressive, you know, like a good example is like Echo, like, or even Brig, right? Like, Brig was oppressive to Tracer players when she first came out, right? Never mind oppressive to like everybody, just because like she was so strong. But especially like Tracer players. Tracer was unplayable because Brig existed, right? See, there's the shield bash. They tried to stun him.
Oh yeah.
Didn't work.
Saturn, thanks to 10 months of tier 1 free. Thank you. Get on my level.
I don't know. Like,
Hog is.
I think Hog is such a selfish hero in a team coordinated game that, you know, him having as much survivability as he does without having any other, you know, teammate help or like damage mitigation or etc., like, it just makes it so the only person having fun is the Hog player, and the person who's playing against the Hog, who's getting hooked, isn't having fun. The only time the Hog player is not having fun is if the hero Ana is picked.
So what do you do to, because, you know, that's why I've been trying to like figure out things I could do with stuff. Like, what would you do to make Hog more actually, I'm gonna pause this now because it just ended on the map. Like, yeah. I mean, just summarize that, what I saw, and I'll say this: D.Va seemed okay against the comp that they were playing against. I'm definitely curious to see how they play against Echo or against Echo or something like that in general right now. But, you know, D.Va was okay, and I'm sure that like I'm not sure what they said about like D.Va, but D.Va seemed okay. I think D.Va was like okay there. Will D.Va be amazing to play as like a solo tank there? I'm not quite sure yet. But I think D.Va looked okay there in that comp. You know, what happens, you know, when they bring back Sigma to these play tests that we're watching, right? Will Sigma still be strong? You know, what will D.Va do then? Type of stuff. But overall, I'd say, yeah, I mean, D.Va looked okay. That's what I saw. Definitely a couple things they could work on, but I mean, it's tough to say with Hog because how do you even rebalance?
Still alive despite
like, how do you like?
To the contrary.
How do you? How do I put it? How do you would you change about Hog? Like, what is there they would do with to Roadhog to where Roadhog would be more team based to you know,
remember what I said earlier about one shots not being in the game? Hog falls into that category. So like I think that
I appreciate that. Yeah.
Widow being one, I think Widow, I think I could maybe make an exception for Widow being full charge, maybe doing 200 or 250 headshot, right? And the reason for that is because like one shots aren't fun to play against, you know, they're just not, especially a hit scan one shot. Like Hanzo one shot, I'd say is arguably not as strong, just because hitting that projectile shot is a little bit tougher than point click shoot, and things just explode across the map. Even with the range nerf is nothing anymore. Plus they rebuffed her range again, or something happened, or I don't know, like there's not like the range nerf doesn't really do anything anymore, to be honest with you. So like I don't know, like if you think about like there's a lot of like the flex DPS heroes are just useless in a lot of ways, you know, like other than Hanzo. I think like Doom's not really that good right now, Junk's really not that good right now, Genji's really not that good right now. Who else? Who am I missing right now? I think off the top of my head. What other? Pharah is okay, but like not many people play her. You know, at a high level because hit scan is so strong. Echo's pretty good. Echo, I say, is the other good flex DPS. It's Echo and Hanzo. But they're good because of their tank busting, like exploding capabilities, which again aren't fun for anybody really. Like they just make people just go boom. So how would you balance Hog, you know, if you're gonna keep that same philosophy of removing one shots? I don't know. I wonder if you can give him a trap ability, like when he throws his hook out, it's like like a ball and chain type of thing, where like it almost like it roots them. You know when you get rooted in a game and you can't move?
Oh, I know how that is. Yep.
I wonder if you could do something more along those lines, like you'd root them for 1 second or 2 seconds or something like that. But something different, and if to take away one-shotting, you know what I mean? Like if you watch Super come out on Hog on his attack, the first thing he does, both on Dorado and this one, is he immediately just goes for the hook one tap. You know what I mean? And it's like starting a fight with that pick is so strong. You know what I mean? But it's like that's his only value. It's kind of like all or nothing. And I don't know. I don't think it's good for the person who's receiving the hook. I also don't think that, you know, having to rely on that's not really like that high. You know, it's like high risk, high reward. But not in the same way of what I think good high risk, high reward is. Like I think good high risk, high reward is Ryan Pin. You know what I mean? Like Ryan Pin, like you have to sacrifice yourself. Like you sacrifice positioning, you're vulnerable while you're doing it. Hog is just like you just yeet a hook and you try to, you know, go for something at free pick. And then especially like the way he makes space is just being threatening offensively. So like how would you make him, you know, more team oriented?
But like, what?
That's a tough question.
See, like, but like, maybe this is just my opinion. Like, one of the ideas you added was like basically giving him a Junkrat trap, like with his hook. But then that person probably just get one shot anyway. If they get him in a.
Well, it would require follow up.
Well, yeah, but they would probably get one shot. So the same, like for the most part.
But it would have counterplay though. You know, like it would have counterplay because instead of pulling them out of position, right? Like, for example, if I hook someone off high ground, right, I'm pulling them into my team. They're gonna get 5v1'd and boomed. But if you root somebody on high ground, yes, they're gonna be vulnerable. But you know, but like there's still opportunities to save them or to help them. You know what I mean? Like if there's a shield, if there's defense matrix, if there's, you know, if enough healing can come out really quickly. You know what I mean? Like whatever it is, there's at least some counterplay. There's not really much counterplay to hook. The things that counterplay to hook there are defense matrix and sleep dart / anti-nade, right?
Yeah.
Especially with so many CCs
I
being
think
removed.
Like and maybe this is just with me with what they're doing with Hog in general is like they don't want it to be a requirement for every single tank to have to do that type of style. That they don't want every tank to have the same style. So like to them, I think that the vision is like the same thing with Wrecking Ball is you have to play even with Wrecking Ball, believe it or not, you have to play a little bit more selfishly with how you play. That's what I had to learn with Wrecking Ball, is that like Ball is more, you have to play it more selfish and play around the map. I mean, you could do things though to Hog to make him have less survivability while also helping his team, which would give him more incentive to do his team. For example, this is a completely random thing I'm coming up with because I don't even, you know, let's pretend that you give Hog an AoE to his damage reduction that does less damage reduction to himself now, but does 25% to people around him for the timing with a longer cooldown. And then he also has a hook that does less damage on his combos. So he still hooks him into the team for value, but you have to follow up. There, right there, you added some tankiness, has less survivability because it's less reduction, and his team, he'll want to be with his team more to be able to help him there. If not, he'll just get rolled. And now you've done that. But I don't know if they're going to change that much with Hog, because I think
you just do the opposite even too, like bring everybody up to his survivability level, you know? Like Hog is so tanky with like his E, which one, he already passively gives less ult charge. 2, he takes less damage incoming while he heals. And 3, or 50% less damage when he heals or when it's coming. And 3, he heals himself for 300 HP. You know, that's a lot of survivability. You know what I mean? In selfish survivability.
But that's like the whole design around. That's what I think. That's like the problem is. That's what it's kind of how they want the hero to be. Is they want it so like you kind of have that. The problem right now is that he's able to, like you said, survive. So a lot of his survivability comes from that 50% damage reduction while moving, right? Like if you look at like original Hog, you would be able to heal, and I don't remember if there was damage reduction on the heal, but you couldn't.
No, that wasn't.
You couldn't move while healing.
Yep.
So there's things they've done with Hog initially where they probably had that same concern, but Hog became tankier as Roadhog became tankier as Overwatch progressed, because there was so much damage in the game that they had to make Roadhog tankier, because otherwise Roadhog was essentially there wasn't much value being had on Hog, right?
Right.
There just wasn't. So they had to make Hog tankier to kind of base it around what we see with what's currently in Overwatch. Overwatch right now, and the way that each rank plays is different. The way everything plays is, different across the board, right? So it's one of those things where I think the way the Hogs version now is because of what's currently happening in Overwatch 1. So I wouldn't doubt it if they make changes to Hog, right? Yeah, I mean, that could work too. Someone mentioned like you having it so like when he hails, it has. Remember when they did that thing with Moira, where Moira would like fade, and then she would be able to like get her teammates out of stuff.
Oh my god, the team fade? That was the most broken thing I've ever seen.
But I'm saying the concept you could have with Hog is you make his heal, like his AoE heal, have less tankiness to him, but more support to his team.
Or you could just remove his tankiness with the heal.
Yeah,
someone said in chat.
Well, I think what will happen is when in theory, yes, you could just have the damage reduction, but yeah, I mean, there's things you could definitely do, but I don't know where they're gonna go with that yet. I haven't even read, have they talked about in the AMA what they want to do with Hog? Like, I don't know, like, I think like I get what you're saying with a lot of the one-shot abilities and things like that, but yeah, I don't know. It's my guess is they won't do anything about that now, and I think it's one of those things that we won't get into that discussion about Roadhog and other like one-shot heroes and stuff like that until the beta. And the reason why I say that is because there just isn't enough information that we know about this game right now to be like, yeah, you gotta get rid of that right now. Like, it's don't get me wrong. Like, obviously, like, I don't like, going into Havana and getting one shot, right? But at the same time, I at least need to see in the beta version of what it would be like, where you'd be like, okay, now I see it with Hog. I'm seeing what's happening. Do that. But it's good to talk about, the ideas of maybe stuff like that. But I think like there just isn't enough. Like, I don't know how anything's playing across the board. So it's like, and I mean, I don't play too much Hog right now. So, but yeah, I mean, Hog can get certain value right now, but then you can also, next thing we know, every single Hog in the game is getting slept by Ana and then just dying immediately, even with this route, because they just keep Echo the same way. You just nade Roadhog, and then Roadhog's dead. Even if Ana dies on the hook, they just throw nade, and then Roadhog's dead. Or they just, readjust like the one shot again, like they did before, right? Where it was harder to get the one shot and it was more RNG. I don't think that's the play. I think you want to keep more consistent, but there's things they could do with that. It's just, I don't know yet what they would, you know what I mean? I just don't know specifically what you would do with that yet. But if you wanted to go down the route of, okay, make Roadhog more of a tank and have more team play, then you would probably just adjust it around what you do with your heal.
Yeah.
Like somebody in chat
I agree.
make it like maybe like a AoE You know, I don't know if they would do AoE heal necessarily, but like an AoE, something that has an effectiveness to it, kind of like Zarya bubbles, where they get rid of like, you know, they can get rid of like Discord on somebody or they can get rid of purple. Maybe Roadhog can help do that. Maybe not to himself, right? Maybe Roadhog can't even remove purple from himself, but can help a teammate with that. And you give a little more value where it almost incentivizes to be with your team because your value also helps your team with those games. But that still won't stop the play style. There's gonna be players who just want to go around and go for solo hooks and do whatever they want, right?
Well, I hope that's the concern is I hope that's not the ideal play style. I hope that's not what we're aiming at. Like, is Roadhog the standard tank like now? Like, it used to be Rhine, right? Is Roadhog now the new era standard tank because they want it to be more DPS-y? You know what I mean?
Honestly, I don't think so. But I only say that because I think that my guess is that when we start to see more of the heroes being added to the game, or more of, you know, if Echo's being played, say they don't nerf Echo, for example, then I don't think we'll see Hog be the go-to, because I think there'll be too much. I think no matter what, people are going to want to go Hog and just kind of go on the flank. Right? Like, I don't think that's going to change. So, but I don't think that you'll see that as like the go-to tank, because I think I've talked about it before with the solo tank experience is going to be a lot different than the tank experience now when you play Hog. Because right now when you play Hog in general, you can kind of just get out of team fights and just go for those plays because the other tank is there. But now when Hog is the only tank, the play style is still good, right? In theory, but I don't think you're going to see Hogs be able to kind of just run it down mid outside of initial first team fights. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we saw even with like Super went Hog there. Super kind of popped off a bit on the first initial team fights, but as the fights kind of slowed down, it was tough to get any value. Now, don't get me wrong. Obviously, we're watching, you know, like, you know, they know exactly what to do to counter a Hog.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I don't know specifically what you would do to Hog yet. I think we have to see how it plays out with every single hero being able to be played, and what they do with the changes they're going to make, to example, for maybe Storm Arrow on Hanzo and damage beam with Echo. And then when you start to see, okay, is Hog dominating every single rank game, right? Then you go, okay, there's changes that can be made, which is why hopefully there's a beta to it, right? And you can kind of look at that, and people will be able to go in there and just lock Hog, and then you might see people lock Hog, and they might go, holy crap, Hog is getting rolled, right? And next thing you know, they're going to buff Hog because Hog's getting rolled. But I think
the only way Hog gets rolled is if the damage numbers stay the same, and it gets rolled by like on a nade / like the threat of those. But overall damage, those damage numbers need to come down. Period.
But that's the thing is that's what I'm saying about that in general.
And Hog would be way too tanky at that
exactly.
point, so he's already a problem.
Yeah, so I think that's when you get the discussion on those type of changes, because we just don't have that. Say they reduce damage, like, you know, on all the Tankbusters by 30%, and Soldier has 18 damage now instead of 20, then yeah, I think you like look at Hog and go, okay, you know, time to make adjustments. But right now, with like even Hog now in ranked, in general, or even Hog, like I don't think you would be like, I can see what you're saying with that. You know, I get what you're saying, but I don't think until we see the actual damage numbers where you can be like, okay, just, you know, if they nerf damage, then yeah, I think Hog will probably have to be readjusted a little bit.
I mean, even if you're talking about like current patch Overwatch, I think the only reason Hog isn't dominant is because double shield. That's it.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
double shield keeps Hog in check.
I mean, double shield's definitely good against that, but that's also why, like, I also think we still need to see Orisa, because here's the thing, and this is at least my opinion. And that's why I was mentioning we need to see all the heroes play, because Orisa is a good example of she can, like, the way she plays now, if you just take Hog and you take Orisa, who's going to win that, like, overall team battle?
Orisa, every time.
Orisa, because, yeah, exactly. Orisa has the shield, but then Orisa has the pull, has the gold, has the ability to put that pressure on Hog to eventually have to use the heal. So I'm not saying that Orisa's going to win one.
Orisa's winning most of those duels, though, right now.
Yeah, she's going to play range, too, right? My point is that we don't even know how Orisa's going to be yet. So if they bring in Orisa and like, hey, Orisa has no shield now and she does damage, then you might be like, oh, well, Hog's going to dominate, right? Not that I'm saying she win. Like, I'm not saying that I'm not saying that Orisa wins the 1v1 consistently. I'm saying Orisa keeps Hog more, like, I guess, at bay in those fights. So where Hog won't be able to go get that full value because you can play that distance with Orisa and use the pull to kind of disrupt Hog's plays. Like, you can disrupt the hook with just literally a pull. So it's once again, I think the idea of talking about Hog and maybe readjustments with the playstyle is something you can talk about, but I think we still need to see what they have in store with all the heroes there, then kind of go, okay, you know what? Now Hog needs to be changed. I think that's something we for sure can talk about with that. That makes sense. So like the idea is like, I get that. And there's also like, I know we've gone on a whole thing about it.
Yeah.
But it's cool to talk about both sides of it too, right? Because it's like, then you kind of get an idea of like, you know, probably what they're discussing with that too with Hog. I'm sure they want to do stuff. Was there anything in the AMA with Hog, by the way? Out of curiosity. Chat. We should
Don't
chat for
believe so.
Pat
More
with the
tanks
5
in
gifted.
general,
Thank you. Some hearts, some smiles. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Overall.
Thanks.
Thank you for the 5 gifted subs.
I don't think there was really anything about Hog.
Okay, I was just wondering. And like I said, like that's the thing. And keep in mind, on top of all of that, if there is new tanks, those tanks could absolutely dominate Hog, and then we're going to be in a whole different discussion. So
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
exactly. So
Doomfist beats up Hog now. Is that the title? Doomfist tank beats Hog.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Pat. Thank you. I mean that's the thing. Is like we just don't know, and I think that's the tough part with at least those changes. Yeah. But I know what you're saying with one shots. Obviously, like it's just, and then obviously the play style is going to be about just kind of going for flanks. But it's going to be just kind of seeing what the damage numbers are. Once we know the damage numbers, that's going to be a lot easier to figure out how to balance the tanks. That's going to be the biggest thing. Damage numbers. Once we know damage numbers, once we know how the supports are working, then we're going to know how the tanks are going to survive, because tanks are going to survive based off of, one, obviously the abilities they have. Two, how much damage is in the game. Three, and actually, honestly, so I heard supports are really strong too in a lot of their tests, right?
So they're even stronger.
Exactly. How strong the supports are and how much damage there is. If there's a lot of damage, and the support's really strong, Hog may not even be as good as we think it is, because just Hog won't be able to get to spots even before the fights happen. If there's reduced damage and supports do less healing, then we look at Hog and go, okay, I think Hog can be changed around a bit. So, yeah, that's my opinion, of course. That's the thing, is it's you know, we don't have to like even like agree on that. You know what I mean? It's just like more like kind of see.
I do agree with you on that. It's just my concern lies elsewhere with like, is Hog the standard? Hog is currently too tanky. If you lower DPS, you have to lower Hog survivability. If you don't want to lower Hog survivability, you need to bring everybody else's survivability much higher.
I think we know that, you know what their first concern probably will be?
Tanks dominating?
No, everybody wanted a Ryan on their team.
Well, I think lower ranks is going to have that anyways, no matter what.
I appreciate it. Heck yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I think that's probably something they're looking at right now, is that it's more along the lines of, I think more people are probably, at least in my opinion, looking at like, they're probably looking at Ryan and going, how are we going to make it so not everybody in like, it just goes across all ranks is going, can we get a Ryan? Can we get a Ryan? Can somebody go Ryan? Because that's like the most like, that's the play style that a lot of people are used to. So that's going to be probably their first thing. And that's maybe why we haven't seen too much with Ryan yet. But once again, we're not going to even know that until like, this is just until playing it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like that's like, I think that's why the beta will be key. I think the beta will be key for a lot of this, because
it'll very, very much be,
because I know 100%. That once the beta's out, it's gonna be played a lot, and people are gonna really start to figure out what isn't strong, what all that stuff. So there's gonna be a lot there too. I'm sure they're gonna get a lot of feedback. Somebody just mentioned that in the chat. Like, it's gonna be a lot of feedback, and I think that's
they're gonna have essays and YouTube videos and YouTube.
My guess is this: when the beta does come out, and we have no idea when that's coming out.
Yeah.
One thing's gonna happen.
You don't want to pretend? You don't want to pretend like we know?
Oh, yeah, the beta,
Should we do something?
One thing I will say is that when the beta comes out, there's gonna be the beta, there's gonna be a couple patches, and there's gonna be the live release of Overwatch 2, where those patch notes are gonna be crazy, because they're gonna probably take a bunch of stuff that they have from that and change it around with that. And we've seen that before with like even like Overwatch and stuff like that. Like, you might see some like a lot of number changes and stuff once they get more of that.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see.
Yeah.
Overall,
same.
So far, when I watched, it's the same thing we've talked about. I just want to see more of it, because I want to see.
We need more. We need more.
Exactly. So far, I mean, this map specifically, D.Va looks okay. D.Va looked okay on Dorado when they played D.Va for a bit. Winston looked fun.
I think Winston looked fantastic.
But what's going to happen when we watch another
what kills
map?
Winston? Hog.
Absolutely. Could.
I'm not doing this shit again. I'm not doing it.
But I think, we'll see.